I want to talk about this Billboard situation with Pac. If nobody knows, man, it's been 27 years since his slaying, but his music's still going crazy. He just got added to this exclusive list from Billboard, which is basically your album charting for over 400 weeks. Right now, he's at 491 and counting, which is a crazy feat, especially for a rapper, especially a rapper who's not here, which shows the staying power, man, and the iconicness. I'm gonna make up a word, iconicness of Pac. You know what I'm saying? But what's your thoughts on this, DJ Scandalous, on just his feat? Again, the only rappers on this list are Kendrick Lamar, Good Kid, Mad City, and Eminem Curtain Call. So this Pac album is crazy, man, with 491 plus weeks. What's your thoughts just on that feat of just the fans showing how much they got so much love for Pac, but also why do you think the mainstream isn't really giving him that love and the accolades of reaching this feat with the Greatest Hits album?
Well, actually, I think they did try to kind of give him some love with it. So the album actually came out in '98, and this was Tupac's Greatest Hits. So if you didn't know, Tupac's last album that he overseen himself was a Machiavelli album, and that came out 2 months after his passing. And then the following year, his mother was caught up in a lawsuit with Death Row Records, so they couldn't release a Death Row era album. So what they did is they went with Are You Still Down, which was 92, 93, and 94 era tracks. And that's why you got songs from the Me Against the World period, Do for Love and stuff like that. So by 98, there were Unconditional Love was a big song on there, and that actually got like leaked out on the radio station before it was even released. And that's why we got that version on the actual Greatest Hits, is because that version came from the radio because they couldn't find the master reel. I suppose it's for Hammer because the Unconditional Love song was for MC Hammer. Tupac wrote that himself for his own album, and then he just gave it to Hammer as a gift because he really wanted to see Hammer succeed on Death Row. So that album blew up because Unconditional Love, but also the song Changes, and Changes is an iconic Tupac song that everybody probably knows. It's probably one of his most recognizable songs besides California Love and maybe Dear Mama. It's played everywhere. When the riots were going on a couple of years ago, it was like the anthem of the riots, and he was back on the charts. It was like number 5 on iTunes. Greatest Hits was like number 7, beating out Drake and Taylor Swift, which was an incredible feat, and it just shows the staying power. So that song is actually from 92. It was recorded on, I think, December 31st, 1991. So it's kind of in the middle of Tupac Now and his Strictly era song. And that came out, and a lot of people, I remember back in the day, like people were saying, oh, they're just taking I Wonder If Heaven Got a Ghetto and just rehashing the lyrics and stuff, which wasn't even true because Tupac actually recorded that song first. He wrote that song when he was 19 years old, and he wrote that song first, and then it was never released. I don't know if it was a sample clearance problem or he felt like it didn't fit Tupac Now or Strictly, his Troubles from 21 era album that was going to be released in 92 that they rejected because it was deemed too controversial. So maybe it would have came on air, but they rejected that whole album. So Tupac went back to the drawing board. He wrote Wonder If Heaven Got a Ghetto. And for the third verse, he just used some lines from, I think it was maybe verse 1 and verse 3 of that track. So that's why Tupac reused some of those lines, because a lot of artists, they just take songs and maybe they don't release it, but they build upon that concept, and they'll just take lines from other songs or redo whole verses over new beats. And Tupac was no exception. It's just, we see that because he's passed on. But like, I remember like in 97 when they started Are You Still Down, I'm like, why are they going back to like pre-Death Row track when everyone wants Death Row? But it was a blessing because they got all those songs out of the way, and how they were able to maneuver a 92 track as one of your lead singles for the Greatest Hits album is so crazy. But it's partially because of the lyrics and because of the Bruce Hornsby sample is so iconic. But to have that album still resonate today just shows you the staying power of Tupac and how iconic he was and how much his message speaks to people all over the world. And I see that as a DJ, as a remixer, as someone that covers Tupac my whole life on YouTube and social media. People may say I'm obsessive, but like Tupac's message has touched me when I was a young kid. I know that pause, but it touched me emotionally to the point where it gave me hope to, keep on and find a new outlet to express myself. And I did that through music. And that song Changes was very much instrumental to that, as well as Unconditional Love, which is my favorite Tupac song of all time. I think that's a complete masterpiece, and it would have been a waste just giving it to Hammer. If you ever heard a Hammer version, it's whack.
Salute the Hammer, man.
Salute the Hammer. I love Hammer, definitely. But it just don't hit the same because you can tell that message is so deep to his heart. And I think that's why his album, his songs has so much staying power because he expressed himself on a deep level that not many rappers can do or will do because they're scared of that. You know, Tupac was able to rap about his mother, ready to rap about pregnant women. And, you know, there was even like a song like 16 on Death Row where he was telling a story where he's like, I think he said his uncle touched him as a kid, but it was just a story. Like you don't hear these type of stories by most rappers, and he wasn't afraid to speak out.
Back then, they didn't do that either. You know what I'm saying? Especially back then.
Yeah. So like having this album, you had Hit 'Em Up on it, which wasn't even on All Eyes on Me. It wasn't on Machiavelli. So that made that album sell. You had, obviously, I assume people may have thought the I Ain't Mad At You music video radio version would have been on here, but it wasn't on here for some reason. But you got the explicit version. And then you had Troublesome 96, which was a big, like, popular song among the Tupac community, which was a 3-verse track over Nas' If I Ruled the World beat, but it's sampled a little bit differently by Johnny J. And if you've seen his House of Blues, he goes at Nas on the intro there. So look, I'm gonna take your beat and I'm gonna whoop your ass with it. Because they had all that beef about All Eyes on Me and the Street Dreams, and then Nas saying fake thug, no love on the message and shit. So there was a lot of beef there, and it made Pac inspired to make Troublesome 96, which that's why that song came about. But like to see that album still sell well just shows you Tupac is as iconic and not as overrated what people say. People say, oh, he's overrated. That's just a bias, bullshit that people want to put out there. He can't be overrated if he's still in the news more than Elvis Presley, more than Michael Jackson. And a lot of people, it's kind of blasphemous to say that Tupac is right there with Elvis Presley and Michael Jackson. But when you look at the news past death, Tupac is more in the news than both of these guys. And that's just facts.
Yeah, that's true. This is a 25-year-old Pac. You know what I'm saying? 27 years ago, the music still resonates. And what's crazy, nobody can duplicate it.
And only a 5-year career.
Facts. And again, like I said, there's not any artists even now that basically have made classics or can remake even the stuff that he's done before. So again, this Greatest Hits album is still, like I said, I think it may be about maybe 500, maybe 495 as far as the weeks that it's been on Billboard. Again, a great accomplishment, man. You got to salute to Pac, everybody that worked with him. Again, the unsung heroes, the producers, the mixers, man, that made all this stuff happen. This album is basically classic. If you're under 40 and you haven't heard the Pac Greatest Hits, because I've talked to some people who they still haven't even gotten into Pac yet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Go check this out. Go stream the music, man, and listen to what Skandalous is saying as far as the passion, the stuff that he can basically do and talk about that no other artists have done even to this day. So again, that album has been, to me, is great, classic. You're seeing it with the numbers. Fans are still out here copping it, listening to it, streaming it. So again.
And it went diamond. The only other greatest hits to go diamond is Eminem's Curtain Call, I think, right? So, and to have that album come out in 98, you knew that, put in like all those Machiavelli tracks and All Eyes on Me tracks and Dear Mama, you knew that album was gonna hurt the sales of Me Against the World and All Eyes on Me. Right. But you just seen how much, those sales increased over the years. That one diamond, All Eyes on Me went diamond, Machiavelli still won like 6x platinum, probably more than that because that has been recertified since like 99. Right. So it just shows like how much fan support this man has back then and even now.